Mind control. Understanding mind control in Scientology. Mind control, as described by organizations like FactNet, Fight Against Coercive Tactics Network, involves the covert shaping of an individual's attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors without their knowledge or consent. This process often employs deceptive manipulation, repetitive activities, and social isolation to create absolute loyalty to an organization. Scientology exemplifies these principles through its systematic practices, which align closely with Robert J. Lifton's 8-point model of thought reform, and other established frameworks like Stephen Hassan's PIKE model, behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. Below is a comprehensive breakdown of how Scientology employs mind control. What is mind control? FactNet, an organization formerly dedicated to addressing abuses by destructive cults like Scientology, provides a valuable explanation of mind control on their website, can be found on the Web Archive. As used by FactNet, mind control refers to all coercive psychological systems, such as brainwashing, thought reform, and coercive persuasion. Mind control is the shaping of a person's attitudes, beliefs, and personality without the person's knowledge or consent. Mind control employs deceptive and surreptitious manipulation, usually in a group setting, for the financial or political profit of the manipulator. Mind control works by gradually exerting increasing control over individuals through a variety of techniques, such as excessive repetition of routine activities, intense humiliation, or sleep deprivation. Robert J. Lifton, an expert on thought reform, a key aspect of mind control, developed an 8-point model outlining its principles. Destructive cults, such as Scientology, are known to employ many of these techniques. Robert J. Lifton's 8-point model of thought reform in Scientology. 1. Environment control. Scientology restricts communication with outsiders, forbidding members from consuming critical media or interacting with dissenters, including family members labeled as suppressive persons, SPs. 2. Mystical manipulation. Members are led to believe in the organization's higher purpose, reinforced by spiritual experiences and claims of exclusive access to ultimate truths. 3. Demand for purity. Members are constantly judged by their adherence to pure Scientology principles, with any deviation labeled as out ethics or evidence of SP influence. 4. Cult of confession. Members are required to disclose personal secrets during auditing and sec checks, creating a culture of surveillance and vulnerability. 5. Sacred science. Scientology doctrine is treated as infallible, with policies like keeping Scientology working, KSW, demanding absolute adherence without question. 6. Loaded language. Scientology introduces its own terminology, such as out ethics and in theta, which simplifies complex issues into binary choices, discouraging critical thought. 7. Doctrine over person. Personal experiences and beliefs are invalidated if they conflict with Scientology teachings, ensuring members conform to organizational doctrine. 8. Dispensing of existence. Only members in good standing are deemed worthy of spiritual freedom. Those who leave or dissent are labeled SPs and shunned. Techniques used by Scientology to enforce mind control. Repetition. Scientology employs excessive repetition to induce a hypnotic state. Auditing, training routines, TRs, and even clay modeling are repeated endlessly, fostering compliance and making members highly suggestible. Experts liken these practices to hypnotic techniques, as they exhaust critical thinking and create mental states conducive to manipulation. Hypnosis and TRs. Hubbard's background as a stage hypnotist is evident in Scientology practices. TRs, such as TR0, staring exercises, push members into trance-like states. These exercises, combined with repetitive questioning during auditing, create a mental environment where members are more likely to accept Scientology doctrines unquestioningly. KSW, keeping Scientology working. The KSW policy demands absolute adherence to Scientology principles, framing dissent as treason. Members are indoctrinated to prioritize the organization's survival above personal values, reinforcing an all-or-nothing mentality. greater good. Members are taught that their sacrifices, financial, personal, or emotional, serve the greater good. This altruistic framing justifies extreme actions, such as cutting ties with family or enduring financial exploitation. BITE model: behavior, information, thought, emotional control. Scientology aligns with Stephen Hassan's BITE model of mind control. Behavior control: rigid schedules, repetitive exercises, and monitoring of personal actions. Information control: restriction of external information and the use of KRs to report dissent. Thought control: indoctrination through TRs in auditing to internalize Scientology doctrine as absolute truth. Emotional control: manipulation of guilt, fear, and loyalty, often weaponizing confessions during sect checks. Methods that foster mind control. 1. Surveillance and snitching. Members are encouraged to write knowledge reports, KRs, on each other, reporting any perceived deviation from Scientology standards. This fosters an environment of mistrust and self-censorship, where even private conversations may lead to punishment. 2. Weaponization of personal information. Confessions made during auditing and sect checks are meticulously recorded, and can later be used against members as leverage, ensuring compliance. 3. Financial exploitation. Members are charged exorbitant fees for interrogations, sect checks, and courses. Even leaving the organization requires costly confessions and clearance, reinforcing financial dependence on Scientology. 4. Isolation and dependence. Disconnection policy severs members from external support systems, leaving Scientology as their sole source of identity and validation. This isolation deepens dependence on the organization. 5. Gamification of progress. The bridge to total freedom incentivizes members to continually pursue higher levels of spiritual achievement. However, progression often requires repeating earlier steps, creating an endless cycle of financial and emotional investment. Conclusion: the reality of mind control in Scientology. Scientology's practices systematically dismantle individual autonomy, replacing it with a controlled identity loyal only to the organization. Through repetition, surveillance, financial exploitation, and the weaponization of personal information, Scientology ensures its members remain isolated, dependent, and unquestioning. For a group that claims to promote spiritual freedom, these methods reveal a calculated strategy of manipulation and control that undermines the very autonomy it promises to nurture. Notable quotes on Scientology and mind control. This section highlights key quotes from former members, experts, and even the organization's founder, shedding light on the methods and impacts of mind control within Scientology. On psychological control and enslavement, John Atak, cult expert. Scientology is a process of breaking, taming, and enslaving people psychologically, and they will do it physically if they can't do it psychologically. One of the basic mechanisms is the double bind. So you say you'll be totally free as long as you're enslaved by me. Scientology does exactly the same thing. It makes people incapable of thinking outside the box of Scientology. So that's the starting point. The understanding that Scientology is a deliberate system of psychological imprisonment, and it leads to fanaticism further. Let's face it, Scientology is the most effective form of mind control ever developed. There's nothing that comes near it. On restricting critical thinking, Sarah Goldberg, 27-year Scientologist, attained highest level OT8, going clear. They say don't go on the internet, don't read, don't go to these sites. Your future, your eternity all depends on you going up the bridge. It's scary. It's kind of like Christianity with hell. If they don't have the bridge, they can't go free. They don't believe they can get it anywhere else. It's like brainwashing, really simple. I mean, that's a really scary word, and it took me a long time to come to that conclusion that that's what's occurred. Paul Haggis, going clear. You just don't see it happening to you. You justify so much. Cults, they prey on people suggesting that you should be able to think for yourself, then tell you exactly how you have to think or get out, and if you get out, there will be consequences. Jason Begay. Going clear. You take on the kind of a matrix of thought that is not your own. On Scientology's systematic approach to control. Mike Rinder. Going clear. It really is the crux of how controlling is any religion over its adherents, and Scientology has perfected a lot of techniques of control. There is no logical explanation as to why, other than faith. Jamie DeWolf, Scientology founder's great-grandson. The Church of Scientology is one of the most devious, systematic brainwashing systems that's ever been invented. On Scientology's demand for total mental submission. L. Ron Hubbard, Jr. Later changed name to Ron DeWolf, former high-ranking Scientologist and son of founder LRH. All cults, including Scientology, say, "I am your mind, I am your brain, I've done all the work for you, I've laid the path open for you, all you have to do is turn your mind off and walk down the path I have created." Direct admission of control by the founder, L. Ron Hubbard. Once an auditor recognizes that he has authority and control over the minds of his pre-clears and human beings, he doesn't even vaguely think in terms of re-stimulation or needing processing. That I guarantee. You see that? If you know absolutely by your own experience that you can change the mental outlook of human beings, you're not going to worry about them re-stimulating you. These quotes collectively illustrate the pervasive and calculated use of mind control in Scientology. From controlling thought processes and discouraging dissent to creating psychological dependency on the organization.